Welcome everyone, my name is Wendy Lehman. I'm a fashion stylist and personal shopper. If this is your first visit to my channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please press the subscribe button. If you're a regular, welcome back. In my previous video, for those of you that have seen it, I was talking about coats and how you can layer up coats, and so I thought I'd start today by just showing you that look on a jacket, which is exactly the same principle really. So what I'm wearing now, I'll come a bit closer. I've changed the camera angle, so I'm hoping you'll be able to see more the more full-bodied look now, so that it should be easier for you to get an idea of what I'm talking about. But I've layered up a thin, waist-length, unlined, slightly quilted jacket with a fur-fronted, knitted-back gilet. And that just looks, layering up is a really interesting way to dress, so don't be afraid to try that out, layering coats with gilets, layering jackets with gilets, and even layering up other things, shirt with cardigans with a gilet, or think about layering up. It's a really funky way to add interest to your look. So this is the jacket underneath is black, which is not as good a colour for me as the brown. So the brown fur really sort of lifts that, much better for my colouring. So I hope you can see that with the light. And again, just a really easy way, adds a bit of warmth, but predominantly this is about adding a bit more interest into the look rather than actually just keeping warm. I've got a second gilet, which is also part fur, part fabric. It's much longer, let me show you that. So it comes down to kind of mid-calf. Because I'm quite short, I always try to break this look up with something that sort of stops there so that you can see my proportions. Otherwise I can end up looking a bit wee willy winky, you know, if everything's really long. And again, this is fur with black fur. The black fur is not as good as the brown fur. I think I can show you that quite clearly. That's much better on my skin tone. So important if you're wearing something that is less flattering to your face, that you think about the lipstick. Always wear one of your best colour lipsticks. We'll always wear that anyway, but think about that. Think about the metals near your face. I've got a little bit of gold here on the top of my jumper, and I'm obviously wearing gold earrings, and gold is a better metal for me than silver. So again, work out what works better for you and make sure that you introduce some of that as close to your face as you can to compensate if you're wearing a colour that is less good. I do try to avoid black. I've said this in previous videos, I'm sure I'll say it in future videos. I do try to avoid black near my face, definitely as I'm getting older. It's not as flattering as some of the other colours, like brown is great for me, grey is better than black, navy is definitely better than black. But I don't outlaw black because I know there's so much of it in the shops, and I know that it is slimming, and for a lot of women that's quite important. So it's about compensating if you are going to wear black so that it doesn't detract from your general appearance. Okay, so let's just get this off. Now a lot of these get very little outing here in Israel because it goes from being winter to being summer in about 15 minutes. And so I haven't got as many jackets here as I would have, say, in my London wardrobe. But I have got a biker jacket. I think everybody can do a biker jacket of some sort or another. And again, as I've got you full length, I'll show you what that looks like. A black biker jacket, for the reasons I've just said, would not be good on me. But the green is fun. It's biker, so it's kind of timeless in terms of its style. It's got some detail, but it's not too heavy. I can't really do something that's got all the knobs and whistles on it. That would just look over the top for me, and also I think I'm too old for that now. But in a green, it's a nod to the biker jacket, but it's still a funkier look, and I would do this, say, with jeans, or even in the spring. It's a lovely colour for spring, so I might do it with like a white trouser, and this. Then just going back to the slightly heavier jackets for a moment, and these will probably be now too heavy for, definitely this will be too heavy now for spring in Israel, is this. This is a fabulous, this green is wonderful on me. It's a very autumnal green, and I'm definitely really good in the autumn colours. And this is actually more of a sleeveless coat than anything else. And I wanted to show you this because I wanted to talk about how something like this can really work in your wardrobe and how you can acquire something like this. So there are two things I want to say. First of all, because this is actually a coat weight, and I hope you can see that in the video, it gives some real warmth. So you can, and it looks in keeping if you do it over a heavy jumper, but it also works if you just do it over a t-shirt or this, which is like a very, very thin jumper now, and it works fine. So from the point of view of having some real weight and heft to it, it means it can transition really from, I would say, early autumn right through to late spring. If you've got coats in your wardrobe that are a bit tight, but that you still like, if you've got coats that are looking a bit tired or you're just a bit bored with them, think about getting it altered. Think about having the sleeves removed, and if you need to at that point, having the collar made slightly smaller. Sometimes if you take the sleeves out, the collar can end up looking a little bit oversized. So think about having that made a little bit smaller if you find that that's the case. It's not an expensive alteration, and it can really give a new lease of life to something in your wardrobe and actually add a real bonus in terms of the number of outfits you can get wearing something like this. So if you've got a coat you love but it's a bit tight, definitely think about having the sleeves taken out, because you'll get a lot of wear out of it as a sleeveless coat. And again, as I said in the previous video and as I've mentioned already, think about layering it up. You could do this over one of those Uniqlo puffer coats, and you'd have the warmth of the Uniqlo, you'd have the added warmth of this, and of course it would just look much more fashionable than just walking around in one of those puffer coats. Okay, I've got a little pleather. The biker jacket that I showed you is also plastic. I don't do leather or suede because I'm a vegetarian, so I think it's not right to kill animals for fashion or food. So this is just a fun little plastic. Again, it's quilted, so it's got a bit of interest. I'm a big fan of quilting. I think it's all the straight lines in it that appeal to me. And this is great over a t-shirt, over a light jumper, even over a slightly heavier jumper. Again, gives a bit of extra warmth, definitely gives a bit of interest, and think about layering it up, even with another gilet. Let's just try that while I'm speaking and see how that looks. So we could just layer that up. Just like a really nice little bit of interest, one over the other. Okay, so again, a bit more interest. The idea of layering this up isn't just it isn't just about interest. There's something quite powerful about your appearance when you've got layers on. So if you're trying to look a little bit more professional in a situation, or if you're going into a situation that maybe you feel is that you need to have the upper hand, then think about doing this with your clothes, because your clothes can really speak powerfully for you at times like that. And layering it up, you can still be wearing fairly casual stuff, but if you layer it up in a certain way, it can end up looking a little bit more powerful. Okay. Now let's just show you some of the other jackets. So I've got some what I call sensible jackets, which are, oh, there goes the hanger, which are like this. And they are a jacket rather than a coat, because they just sort of come to mid-thigh, so I wouldn't call them a coat. I've had these for quite a few years. They're both from Zara. They're real basics, and the shape is great for me. I'll show you one of these on so you can see what I mean. The shape is really good on me, but I just feel they can look a little bit sensible. So I'd be very careful with how I wore it. For example, I wouldn't wear it with a smart pair of black trousers and a black jumper, because all of that would just look a bit too classic for my clothing personality. But I might do it, for example, with a white t-shirt and a pair of white, maybe jeans that, you know, white ripped jeans or something, so that there's something serious, which is the coat, and sensible, but it's funked up a bit with some, I would probably wear some chunky trainers on the bottom, or maybe some of my stacked plimsolls and some white ripped jeans or something, so that it doesn't look too classic. I don't have a great deal of classic in my style personality, and so if anything looks too classic, I just feel a bit sensible and even a bit, nowadays, even a little bit mumsy. So I'm careful not to do that with my look. But the jacket itself is, it's timeless. And so it's a great staple in the wardrobe, but I would tend to wear it more casually, not in a smart environment, because in a smart environment, I think I would just feel a bit too sensible. As opposed to something like this, which isn't sensible at all, and I love and get a lot of wear out of. And this is a kind of totally funky, very me jacket. It's sort of mid-thigh, it's almost coat length, but it's very lightweight, so it doesn't give you any warmth at all. So I would definitely wear this when it was about wearing a jacket rather than about wearing something to keep me warm. But this sort of funky print, again, it's timeless. I am a bit of a fan of animal prints. I've got a few of those, but I love this, and I get masses of wear and lots of fun every time I wear it. In the same way as black is not so good for me, white is not so good for me. So when I talked about this jacket, and I said, I might do this with white underneath, this would be great because the yellow would really help compensate for the white that would suit me less. So again, know your colours, think about that when you're putting outfits together, and don't be frightened to bring in a contrasting colour. I'll do white shirts and things in a later video, but white is a fabulous fresh colour and very little works in exactly the same way. But if it isn't great on you, you need to know how to compensate for that to still be able to achieve that look, but that fresh look, but not to look washed out. And the last one I just wanted to show you quickly was a really cute little jacket that I've had forever. This was from, now the hanger bites the dust. This was from East. I don't think East exists anymore. You might be able to get it online still, but certainly the shops are long gone. But it's such a pretty, the turquoise and the gold and all of that lovely embroidery. So I really like that, but those of you that have been watching my videos will know that I'm not very good in anything that's too floppy. So again, I would consider layering this up. And I just wanted to show you a little trick about something when you've got sleeves that are really floppy like that. First of all, these are too long. I mean, they're too long per se, but also for somebody who's a bit small, it's much better to show a bit of wrist. So if you don't want to be constantly hitching your sleeves up, just take one of those hair scrunchies, pop it up just above the elbow, and then scrunch up the sleeve, and that will stay. You won't see this, you won't see it because it's under the fold of fabric, and the sleeve will stay in place the whole time, and that already makes it look so much better and so much less floppy. And again, I would consider, and I realise this wouldn't be for everyone, but I would consider doing this layered up. So obviously not over a jumper, but I would consider doing something like that, which I just think is interesting and fun, and means I can still get this beautiful colour combination near my face, but actually the floppiness of it is kind of held down with the gilet. Okay, see you in the next video, I hope.